أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We seek refuge, protection, salvation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan, the accursed and the rejected. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the especially gracious. All praise and all thanks and all glory belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we praise Allah and we beg Allah ta'ala to assist us and forgive us. And we have faith and reliance only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we fly for refuge and salvation and protection unto Allah from the mischief, from the malice, from the evil of our own selves. And we fly for refuge and protection and salvation unto Allah from the bad consequences, from the bad results of our misdeeds and our mistakes. Whomsoever Allah guides, none and nothing can mislead and misguide that one. And whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to go into error, mostly due to the choices that that person has chosen to do, be it shirk or kufr or oppression or whatever, then no one and nothing can guide that one. And I stand this beautiful day of Jummah, and I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is Allah's servant and messenger. And Allah admonishes and reminds me and you in the Quran of our duty to Him when He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. O you who believe, O you who have faith, be mindful, be conscientious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He has the right that you should be mindful and conscientious of Him. And do not die, do not go to your grave 6 feet into the ground except as Muslims. Those who struggle and strive to align their will to the will of Allah. Those who struggle and strive to stay within the hudud that Allah, the boundary that Allah Ta'ala has put. Those who use the Quran and Sunnah as the guiding light in every aspect of their lives. May Allah give me and you the reality for this in all aspects of our lives. Ameen Ya Rab-bil-A'alameen. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the King of the universe, declares in Surah Al-Mu'minun, the 23rd chapter of the Quran, ayah number 1 and 2. Allah there says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. قَدْ, for sure, without a doubt. أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful, without a doubt successful are the believers. Which believers? Who are these believers? What are their characteristics? The number one quality. There's a list, but we're going to talk about one quality today. Allah Ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those believers who perform as-salaah with khushoo, with humbleness, with humility, with the presence that they are in a meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those believers, and Allah continues with the qualities. But again, we're going to focus today, inshallah, with the help of Allah on this. So today I want to, inshallah, remind myself and you about some points related to 3 parts of salah, that inshallah we can move towards this goal of performing the salah with concentration, with humbleness, with truly like I'm in a meeting with my Creator and Maker Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and not that this is just some kind of mild aerobic exercise, and not that I'm just trying to fulfill this duty and get it off my back and move on with my life. So the three parts that inshallah I want to bidnillah focus on is the part where we mention in the salah, the takbir, Allahu Akbar, and the ruku, and the sajdah in the salah. With regards to the takbir part, we say Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala is Akbar. He is, and as far as this, the translation of this, brothers and sisters in Islam, we find sometimes this is translated as Allah is great. And sometimes we find the translation as meaning Allah is the greatest. But the scholars of the linguistics of Arabic mention that the closest, most literal meaning as it relates, when you translate this phrase, Allahu Akbar, means Allah is greater. Allah is greater. Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater. Now, if I ask you a question, is that a complete sentence or an incomplete sentence? Is that a fragment when I say Allah is greater, or is that a complete thought? Allah is greater. Then what? What is Allah greater than? So as it relates to salah, the scholars mention that this is what we need to internalize. When I cast and I do the wudu and I have the tahara and I find the qibla and my place of salah is clean, and I'm standing and I'm going to internalize, and after I've made intention, I'm going to internalize this meaning, Allahu Akbar. What am I doing? The scholars mention you are casting the world behind you. Anything that is in your mind and my mind at that second and at that moment, that's occupying my space in my mind and in my heart, you've cast it now behind you. And who's in front of you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, Allah's majesty. And we're praying as if we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And though we cannot see Allah, we must bring to mind Allah can see us. So Allah is greater than what? Allah is greater than my life. Allah is greater than my job. Allah is greater than the task I gotta do. Allah is greater than the food I'm about to eat. Allah is greater than my wife. Allah is greater than my kids. Allah is greater than anything. You fill in the blank. What is Allah greater? Allah is greater than anything you can think of. Allah is greater than that. And with regards to this, our Creator and Maker, as it says in Surah Al-Zumar, the 39th chapter of the Quran, ayah number 67, Allah there says, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدَرِهِ, which translates to mean that they have not made a just estimate, appraisal, assessment of who? Of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah deserves. We have not made a just estimation, assessment, and appraisal of the greatness of Allah as Allah deserves, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves. So I say to myself, and I say to you brothers and sisters in Islam, the ones who have not made, and I'm not counting myself, who have not made the salah to the level that Allah ta'ala deserves, why are we lying to ourselves? When we're standing in salah and we're saying Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater, and we're bringing everything else to mind except the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is greater than that. Wallahi, Allah is greater than that. And we have not made a just estimation and assessment and appraisal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, I pray to Allah that Allah ta'ala give me and you to internalize this meaning, and we bring this every time in our mind, and we make it to where this becomes part of us automatically. We internalize this, we take a breath, we slow down, and we really think with our mind and aql and our conscience and our heart of what this statement means, that Allah is greater than anything. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, just to give you an example, that on the day of judgment, some angels that have been created, and from the second that they were created till the day of judgment, they are in ruku and sujud, and they will raise their heads up on the day of judgment, and they will say, Ya Allah, we have not glorified and praised you the way you deserve. The way you deserve. So what is my salah and your salah compared to that glorification of those angels who have for thousands of years and millions of years have done this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who Allah knows their numbers and their greatness and how powerful and awesome they are compared to you and I. So have we really given the true estimation and appraisal and assessment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness? That's the question for you and I to answer. The meaning of ruku, the second part that we want to discuss. So when we're in the ruku, we're saying Subhana Rabbil-A'alameen. And in the ruku, this Subhan comes from the root of the triliteral roots of Sin, Ba and Ha, which really literally means that which floats, that which glides up, something that's floating, something that is gliding up. When you add the alif and the noon, the scholars mention, it becomes Subhan. And it becomes an exaggerated format of that word. So abundantly, excessively, overly, gliding in above is who? Rabbi. Subhana Rabbi. And who is Rabb? Rabb is my master. And we're declaring in Al-Fatiha every day, 17 times a day. After we say Alhamdulillah, all praise and thanks belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do we say? Rabbil-A'alameen. That Allah, you are the master of everything that exists. So what is naturally when we think about? That this is establishing the relationship between me and Allah. That after Allah has told me in Al-Fatiha, and I'm declaring it 17 times a day minimum, that all praise and thanks belongs to Allah, then I say Rabbil-A'alameen. That Allah is my master, and the master of everything that exists. So what are we saying? We're saying that my master is abundantly above, perfected, floating, anything that could be associated, any shirk, any kufr, any shortcomings that can be associated with Allah, He is above that. Allah is perfected. Allah is abundantly above and perfected above that. And look at the symbology of ruku. Look at this. I'm like this. You're like this. You're on your side, and we're two-legged. Is this a natural thing to be like this? And at that time we're declaring Subhana Rabbil-A'alameen. This is unnatural. And you are, and I am at that time in an imperfect state, in an imperfect position. And what are we declaring? Allah is perfect. Allah is above. My master is above. At that second, that is when we're declaring that. And then the next thing we say, we're saying what? We're saying Azim. We're saying Azim. That subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala is Al-Azim. And this comes from the root, scholars say, of bone. The root of bone. And when you think about our bodies, our skeletons, what is that? That's a symbology of strength. That is what's holding us together. If you didn't have a skeleton, if you didn't have the frame, if I didn't have the frame, we would be like vegetables. You tear these walls out, you tear that column out, the skin of it, and behind it you will find the skeleton of this building. You take that skeleton down, the whole building collapses. It's a symbology of strength and power. And when we say Azim, this is the exaggerated form of that. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? He is the most supreme. He is the most mighty. He is the most strong. And again, when are you declaring that? I'm a grown man. I'm approximately 200 pounds, subhanAllah. When I'm like this in ruku, a little child could come in and throw me down if they hit me from the back. I could fall down and I'd fall face flat on my face. And what am I declaring at that time? Oh Allah, you are Al-Azim. You are the most abundantly perfected and powerful at that time of weakness. So this is what I want, bi'idhnillah, according to what the scholars say, for us to reflect, for us to internalize, for us to think, so that we, inshaAllah, rely on Al-Azim, the most mighty, the most powerful, the supreme, on all of our matters. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم. استغفر الله. Let's ask Allah for forgiveness. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I'm about to proceed. So brothers and sisters in Islam, we've been reflecting upon the gems, the jewels of salah, and how we can think about the salah to where we can internalize it and make it a meaningful part of our lives. A part of our life where we look forward to it 5 times a day. The events of our lives 5 times a day where we make our schedule around the salah and not our salah according to our schedule. And that only comes, subhanAllah, when we truly love and we are truly, subhanAllah, benefiting from it. When we're not just parroting the words of salah, when we're not just pecking up and down like a chicken, when we're truly internalizing the meaning and the symbology of what salah means. And I will end, inshallah, talking about the symbol and the gem with regards to the sajdah. So in the sajdah we say Subhana Rabbil-A'alameen. And we already mentioned what Subhana Rabbi means. That this means that how perfected, abundantly perfected, and glorified and above is my Rabb, my Master. And Al-A'la means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? The Most High. So look at the symbology the scholars mention. You are putting your face, the most honorable thing about you as a human being, you're putting it on the ground. And it's even lower than your bottom. And at that second, you and I are declaring, when you and I cannot go any lower than that, we'd have to be under the ground in order to be lower than that. And we're declaring what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Most High. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that in the sajdah, we are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, we should be calling onto Allah and making the dua after we say the Subhana Rabbil-A'ala, after we glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look at the symbology of that. And in anything else, the ruku and the sujud are signs of what? Of humiliation. They're signs of humiliation. Any culture you go to any man outside, whatever their background is, and you say if somebody did this and prostrated their face by your feet, what would this be? This would be a humiliation. And it's in every culture. Just go look at any documentary. Go check out any culture. It's a sign of humiliation. It's a sign of being put down. Yet, for us believers, it's a sign of honor. Because the only one worthy of making ruku and sujood to is who? Our creator and maker, our master, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is an honor that we recognize who Allah ta'ala is, and 5 times a day we get connected back to the purpose of our lives. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created the jinn and the ins for what? Except that they should worship Him. That's the purpose of our lives, subhanAllah. And I will end with this. Brother Joshua Evans, he's a revert to Islam. And if you go to YouTube, you can see his video on how he came to Islam. You just go type in Joshua Evans, how the Bible led me to Islam. I will end inshallah with a point that he made with regards to the sajdah and the ruku of salah. He said in his story, subhanAllah, is amazing. And just go listen to it. We don't have time to talk about it. But he says at the end of his story, when Allah guided him to the masjid, and after he went through everything, and this man, he started in Christianity. He studied all these religions, and he studied their books, and he even learned Hebrew to learn the Old Testament. And you know what he said? He said, when the Muslims, the first time I saw them stand up, and I saw them pray, and I saw them make ruku and sajdah, I was amazed. Because he said, whatever I had written, whatever I had read of the old books with regards to Buddhism or Confucianism or Christianity or Judaism or what have you, what I knew, even though I knew there was a lot of falsehood that was mixed up in there, what I knew and found that this is a common trait amongst them that was left. And I know that this wasn't prayer, but this was worship. This is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is more than prayer. This is worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said that this was one of the evidences for me to let me know that those people that I loved from the Old Testament, the prophets and what have you that I looked up to, that I was finding their true characteristic which I found in the Quran, I found them, they were all doing this, the ruku and the sajdah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me tawfiq and you tawfiq inshallah to come to the realization of what salah is, to pray the salah with khushoo, with humiliation, with a sense that we're meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala guide me and guide you inshallah. Before I sit down, I just want to humbly remind, as requested by Imam Dedmar, everybody knows about the construction project. Everybody knows that this is the heart of the community, subhanAllah, the masjid. So open your pockets inshallah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put your money, put your effort with regards to finishing the construction project inshallah. This is where you will be sending yourself with regards to the aqiqah when your children are born. This is the place where you look to at the time of our death during the janazah. This is the place where you go with regards to the marriage. This is the place where you go to learn about the deen, about the Quran and the Sunnah. If this place is not healthy, then the healthfulness of the community is not healthy. So give to the masjid, come to the masjid, be part of the masjid, do whatever it is that you can do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give inshaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help open my heart and open my pockets and your heart and your pockets inshallah to give towards this inshallah. Don't forget that after the salah, let's make dua to Allah. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَّسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْنَا إِصْرًا كَمَا حَمَلْتَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا بِهِ وَاعْفُ عَنَّا وَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا أَنْتَ مَوْلَانَا فَانصُرْنَا لِلْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. اللهم اجعلنا من المسلمين والمؤمنين والقانتين والصادقين والصابرين والخاشعين والمتصدقين والصائمين والحافظين فروجهم والذاكرين الله كثيرا. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إني نعوذ بك من عذاب القبر ومن عذاب جهنم ومن فتنة المحيا وممات وَمِن فِتْنَةِ الشَّرِّ مَسِيهِ الدَّجَّالِ. Ya Allah, forgive us of our shortcomings and sins. None can forgive them except you, and you love to forgive, so forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Rab-bil-A'alameen, we raise our hands, Ya Allah. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help our brothers and sisters all over the world, Ya Allah, who are going through terror and hardship, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, help our brothers and sisters in Syria, in Palestine, in Kashmir. And Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the Muslim lands, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bestow upon all of us sabr and jameel to be successful in our hardships and in our tests and in our issues and on those things that hold us back, Ya Rabbil-A'alameen. And Ya Allah, make us amongst those who make shukr to you, not kufr to you, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, make us amongst those who make shukr to you, not kufr to you, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, make us amongst those who make shukr to you, not kufr to you, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, unite us under La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, under the nur and the guidance of the Quran and the nur and the guidance of the sunnah of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ibadallah, إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى ونهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون ولذكر الله تعالى وأولى وعز وجل وتم وهم وأكبر وأقيم الصلاة.